Spring, particularly the months of March and April, is usually the season for job recruitment in China. But things are not coming up roses for job seekers. The number of jobs is down. Across China, unemployment is at 6%, but it's over twice as high for young people. That's bad news for job seekers like Rizal Chandra, an Indonesian student who's just graduated from university in Beijing.
也有很多公司完全就是没有招聘的这个活动，也是裁了很多的这个员工，所以我那时候特别苦闷，然后我就决定先去旅游，然后旅游以后呢再继续找。结果呢，在那个1月份的时候，那个中国发生了疫情，所以我理由也是不能回北京，那我只能回印度尼西亚了。现在，对，所以我不能继续了找了那些工作，所以我觉得我在中国工作的这个梦想呢，就是结束了。
It's a story repeated in many places around the world.
It's a tough year for graduates. It's quite common for us to see start dates delayed. We're also seeing scenarios where candidates are taking on board internships as opposed to formal graduate programs, and often those roles have a lower level of remuneration. Singapore, though, seems to have held up reasonably well, whereas if you look at other markets, Japan, for example, graduate vacancies were down by 6%. On the other hand, if you look at Hong Kong, where we've seen the double whammy impact of social unrest and COVID-19, graduate vacancies are down by over 50%. And for those vacancies, the salaries are down by 10 to 20%.
Lockdowns have shut down economies. In the United States, the unemployment rate is at its highest since the Great Depression. Globally, the International Labour Organization predicts a loss of 305 million jobs in the second quarter of 2020.
In the first phase was all about working from home. I think in that phase, a lot of organizations also realized that some roles were not needed. So there is a layer of impact of jobs. The second phase was really the pressure on realization that there is no revenue. The third phase was really a little bit more on thinking about long-term, what are the new processes I need to put in place? What are the new roles that I need to really take as in-house roles, and what are the roles that I can actually afford to have as gig economy roles? So I think that's the phase we are right now. Of course, it had a lot of implications on hiring freeze. It has a lot of implications on new expansions.
There are also some bright spots amid the pandemic.
The ones that are really thriving, hiring and expanding at this point in time is tech across the board. So it doesn't matter if it's e-commerce or even if you talk about video conferencing, obviously that's a big thing right now. Anything that is Amazon, logistics related to support, e-commerce. So what we've seen is insurance, fintech, anything that's tech related has been not really been impacted at all.
Thinking about the ASEAN region overall, I think there continues to be a view that the region will further present itself as a supply chain hub that is really significant on a global basis. And so we still see demand for people with strong skills in supply chain management, procurement, and particularly the ability to influence and interact across different cultures and demographics.
Employment experts also say there's been an increase in temporary and contract jobs.
Whether or not that will translate into long term, I don't know. But the aim is that, let's say we give them 6 months, they're doing this other job right now just to fulfill the demand at the moment. The aim is that after 6 months, hopefully the market will go back to normal and then they can return to the previous industry.
As countries around the world emerge from lockdown, there's cautious optimism.
China overall has probably rebounded more positively than we anticipated. There's a real distinction here in that we've seen very high levels of activity in terms of recruitment demand from Chinese-owned companies, whereas we still see multinationals be very cautious. We're also seeing Chinese companies be fairly bold and expansive in terms of the hiring activities outside of China, particularly in in Southeast Asia.
It was fear at the in the beginning, like, okay, what's happening? What are we going to do? We should plan ahead. So I think that was the fear that is holding people back from hiring, or just being a bit more careful about their planning and just making sure that they're sustainable, in the next 6 months and 12 months. I do think that, us coming to phase 2 and slowly opening up, I think the mindset is okay, it's improving, things are changing. So I think things will slowly open up. Still being cautious, but I do believe that the job market will open up slowly, surely but slowly.
And to all job seekers out there,
the short term may look very challenging, but the mid term and the long term is how well are you going to use this crisis to, upgrade yourself, volunteer, think of creative ways that you can expose yourself to different projects. Because the most important thing right now is to gain experience. So don't really think too much about, designation. Don't think too much about entry or starting salary. This is not the time to think about that. It's really the time to think about how do I get exposure, and think of working with companies that give you an opportunity.
A question I've heard from a few people, which I think is a really good one, is how did you set up your working environment during a lockdown? Most employers will want someone who's got a level of resilience and has shown that they're able to operate successfully in ambiguous environments. It's very difficult to predict what's likely to happen in the next few months. We need people that are able to deal with challenges, but also see opportunities.